Hi everyone, I am Pramila from Taktse International School and I welcome you all to my class today. Today we are going to discuss a chapter from your grade 8 NCERT book, chapter 7, that is Conservation of Plants and Animals. But before we proceed, I want to quickly take you through today's lesson objectives. First, we will define ecosystem. Then we'll summarize deforestation and its causes, after which we will list down the consequences of deforestation and understand the need of conservation of forest and wildlife. Finally, we'll be able to compare and contrast Biosphere Reserve, Wildlife Sanctuary and National Park. Now, before we jump into the main lesson, there is a need for us to understand why is there a need of conservation. We all live in a community or a society. What actually constitutes a society? Organisms. That's all three types of organisms. First, the producers. That's the plant which produces food for us. Second, the consumers that rely directly on them. We eat them and we derive our energy from them. Example, you and me. And last, the decomposers, that decomposes the organic material. The organisms make the biotic component of an ecosystem. Now, the second important component of ecosystem is the abiotic component, that is the non-living component of an ecosystem. But these are natural, like for example, the climatic conditions, rain, the mountains that you can see from your window, they all constitute abiotic components of an ecosystem. Now, let us devise the definition of ecosystem together. An ecosystem consists of a community of organisms together with their physical environment. Please take a closer look at the screen that will summarize what we just discussed. Now let us move ahead. Forest gives us life in ways more than one. For example, forest gives us food. And forest also gives us oxygen to breathe. They take the carbon dioxide and gives us oxygen, which is necessary for us to live. And don't forget, forest is also a habitat to our wildlife. And of course, who does not enjoy a walk into the forest with your family and friends? But now, my dear students, the forest is slowly disappearing. Large number of trees are being cut for human benefits, and this is called deforestation. So what is deforestation? Deforestation is the removal of large number of trees for human benefits. As there is a massive increase in the population, there's more mouths to feed. So, large number of trees are being cut in order to procure land for farming and agriculture. Forest is also being cleared for the purpose of urbanization. Now, how many times have you noticed in your locality that the trees are being cut in large number for either the construction of roads or the construction of buildings, etc.? Many times, right? So this is called deforestation. Now, the another reason why the trees are being cut is for the production of paper that you and I use on a daily basis. Do we realize that 17 full-grown trees are required in order to make 1 ton of paper? We use paper every day, don't we? Now let us list the ways that we use paper every day. First, newspapers. We read newspapers every day. Second, your textbooks. Third, the notebooks that we use, both for writing purposes and I'm sure your caught many times by your teachers while tearing pages from your notebooks to prepare paper planes. I know, even I loved flying paper planes as a child. But, my dear students, we need to conserve our natural heritage. And if we will not do that, we will have to pay a big price in future. Now, let us discuss some of the consequences of deforestation. First and foremost, drought. Now, with fewer trees to take in carbon dioxide, the concentration of carbon dioxide is increasing in the Earth's atmosphere. Now, what does carbon dioxide do? It traps the heat that is being reflected by the Earth. So now when the concentration of carbon dioxide increases in the Earth's atmosphere, it is causing global warming. The average temperature is increasing. And because of global warming, the rainfall is being delayed, and because of which we can see drought. Secondly, soil erosion. Now, in the absence of trees, the topsoil, which is the most fertile part of the soil, is getting eroded easily by strong wind or heavy rainfall, which exposes the rocky layer of the soil, which cannot support any kind of life. And that is slowly turning our lands into desert, and this is also called desertification. Thirdly, the concentration of carbon dioxide in the air is also leading to air pollution. Now, fourth consequence, floods. In the absence of forests or trees, the water holding capacity of the soil reduces drastically. The water flows in the low-lying areas, and that's how our low-lying areas are getting flooded. Now, these are some of the consequences of deforestation. But students, the list is endless. Now, let us talk about three important topics that are related to the conservation of our natural heritage. And they are endemic species, endangered species, and extinct. Now, don't get confused, students. These are three different categories. The first one is endemic species. Second one is endangered species, and the last one is the extinct. Let us talk about endemic species. Endemic species are the species of plants and animals that can survive in a particular geographical region. Now, a species can be endemic to a particular continent. For example, the African white elephant of Africa. Or a species can be endemic to a country. For example, the koala bear of Australia. And finally, it can also be endemic to a particular geographical region. For example, the red panda, which is found in this particular geographical region. Now let us discuss endangered species. These are the species of plants and animals that are seriously at the risk of extinction. For example, tigers. According to the Tiger Census Report of 2011, there were around 1,400 tigers left in India. However, because of the measures taken by the government, including establishment of tiger reserves, now the number has increased to 3,000 approximately. And the last category is the extinct species. The plants and animals that no longer exist belong to this category. For example, dodo bird, which is an extinct flightless bird endemic to the island of Mauritius. And one of the most recent additions to this category is Sumatran rhino of Malaysia. Malaysia's last Sumatran rhino died of cancer on 23rd November 2019. And there are only 80 of those species left in the rest of the world. Now let us discuss briefly about the steps taken by the government in order to conserve these wildlife, and also let us discuss what you and I can do or how we together can contribute. Government has taken several steps to ensure the conservation of our natural resources. They have specified different categories of protected areas, and these protected areas prohibits human activities like cattle grazing, cutting down trees, poaching and hunting, etc. The three types of protected areas specified by the government are the Biosphere Reserves, the National Park, and the Wildlife Sanctuaries. Now, let us discuss these three categories of protected areas in a little more detail. First, the Biosphere Reserves. The Biosphere Reserves have the main role in conserving biodiversity. What is biodiversity? It is the existence of variety of plants and animals in a particular area. So Biosphere Reserves make sure that they protect the biodiversity of a particular area. But apart from protecting wildlife, the Biosphere Reserves also protects the traditional life of the tribes living in that area. Now, secondly, let us discuss the wildlife sanctuary. Now, what is the objective of wildlife sanctuary? It makes sure that a viable population of wildlife is maintained in a particular area. It is a natural habitat owned by the government or private agency, and some kind of human activity is allowed. There are certain restrictions, but with a special permission, so let's say the scientists can enter the wildlife sanctuary if they want to study something. The students and teachers can be allowed with a special permission for educational tours. Now, students, please take a closer look at the screen. There's a list of wildlife sanctuaries in Sikkim. And in the end, now let us discuss National Park. Now, National Park is the protected areas which are established by the government to conserve wildlife and also develop them. Now, what does it preserve? It preserves flora and fauna and also the historic objects present in it. We just came across two new terms, flora and fauna. Flora constitutes the plants, the flowers that you can see around you, the trees that you can see in the forest. They all constitute our flora. And fauna means the animals. So as I mentioned earlier that this is a very much restricted area. No human activities are allowed in National Park. Our state Sikkim has one national park, and that is the Kanchenjunga National Park. Now, we just discussed few important steps taken by the government in order to conserve our natural heritage. But don't you think that we also have some kind of responsibility to conserve our mother nature? So today, my dear students, let us take a pledge in order to conserve our plants and animals. First, have you heard of 3 R's? Yes, you're right. It's reuse, recycle, and reduce. We should reuse, recycle, and reduce the materials that we use in our daily lives. For example, the plastic, paper, water, and there are so many other things like that. So today, after watching this video, I want you all to make a list of things that we can reduce, recycle, and reuse. And not only that, I also want you to spread this beautiful message amongst your friends and family and everybody in your locality. Second, we will also support our government in its drive of conserving plants and animals. And how we can do that is by planting trees. Planting more and more and more trees every time we get a chance. So my dear students, before we end, let us redefine deforestation. Deforestation is something that you and I can solve together. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay safe, wash your hands regularly, and wear a mask every time you step out of your homes.